All right, welcome back everyone to Zeldathon Voyage. I'm player 5 and I'll be doing a Tears of the Kingdom any percent speedrun. And I'm joined by Cloud. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, hello, everyone. It's great to be back. Uh, you might remember us from yesterday. We were having some fun in Breath of the Wild with an all dungeons run, and we're back to watch an incredible runner run an incredible game. So let's just jump right into it.
That's right. Ooh, yeah, if you guys remember, we were actually here yesterday watching Cloud do Breath of the Wild all dungeons. So, bit of a dynamic duo. Back for some Tears of the Kingdom this time. It is the sequel, and you'll see some similarities between the speedruns, although they are quite different. But the first one to point out is that the run starts instantly. We will be clipping out of bounds to skip this long prologue section where Zelda yaps about the Zonai.
And so what you saw right there is called a climb jump clip. It's basically exactly as it sounds. You can climb right through a specific seam in the game's geometry there to get out of bounds. And like Player 5 mentioned, he's doing all this kind of parkour movement to skip these 6 or 7 different cutscene triggers that will slow us down. So we're just going to climb along the wall here. And this out of bounds method was discovered very soon after the game released and is only possible in version 1.0. One of the many reasons why we use this down-patched version for pretty much every speedrun. And this tech saves over a minute compared to walking through and listening to all the talking. And our reward for getting through this very hard segment is a 4-minute long unskippable cutscene. And I heard that the love has been coming in for charity water with all these donations. So we've got a bunch of time to read out some of those.
Yes, hello. I am RC reading donations for this segment. We have a lot of love for that concert. I'll start with a $10.01 donation from Abyssal Hawk, a $25 donation from DC Stark, a $40 donation from Thank You Love You Bye, a $5 donation from Solar Symphony that says, "This is rockin', thank you all," a $5 donation from Speepo, a $15 donation from Rhubarb that says awesome concert, a $25.93 donation from Arctos Elliott that says go Amaya go, a $50 donation from Calypsoid that says there are no praises high enough for so much talent all in one room. I completely agree. $40 donation from DJ's mom, a $50 donation from Thank You Love You Bye, and a $250 donation from Separate Sun, which was our matching reward. We have a $25 donation from Anonymous, a $50 donation from Thank You Love You Bye, a $20 donation from Calypsoid, a $25 donation from KT Time that says great concert, and a $101.01 donation from Anonymous. And that is all of the donations from the concert, but we do have an extra donation from Sonic and Ribbon that is $1 and no comment. Thank you all so much for your donations during that concert. It means the world to Charity Water.
That's right. And if you guys want to donate during this run, we've got a couple of incentives. One of them being the fun/useless fact for $5. So for a pretty low price, you'll get one of a decently long list of fun facts that we've prepared. And then at $57,150, we'll unlock a glitch showcase where I can show off just how broken this game is. And I did learn a couple of really cool glitches the other night just for this, so it would be pretty huge if we could hit that incentive.
You guys are definitely not gonna want to miss out on this glitch showcase. There's some pretty goofy stuff. Some stuff that I saw for the first time as well, just right before the run. And there's some good stuff here. So get those donations in to benefit a good cause, and then also do some silly stuff in Zelda. That's what this week is all about.
Isn't it crazy? Like we're still watching the cutscene.
Yeah. Oh man. So the community actually a few months ago approved the use of a cutscene skip with either a mod or a pre-made save file to skip this cutscene, so you can get 4 minutes of your life back every time you start an attempt, which has been a favorable decision for many. So as we kind of come out of this cutscene here, we're going to be waking up on the Great Sky Island, which is the tutorial area of the game, similar to Great Plateau and Breath of the Wild. And in this room right here, we're going to grab our first item of the run, which is the Decayed Master Sword. And this sword is going to become even more decayed and functionally useless in just a few minutes, so stick around for that. But our first order of business for Great Sky Island is we're going to be performing a precise movement technique that is actually not a glitch, just something you can just do in the game called cog skip. So after breaking these vines here, player 5 is going to line up at a very precise angle on this wheel on the side of the room, and then time a jump, a throw aim into a jump slash. And this is going to put him on the far ledge of the back of the room. First try, very clean. Nice side hop there as well. And what this trick does is it saves a 40-minute cutscene where the door opens and those cogs start spinning, which is why we call it cog skip. And it also saves a long section of running out through the tunnels to get to the tidal dive. And also, the other benefit of performing cog skip is we get access to a treasure chest containing 3 wings up on top here, which are very useful items for our run, as you will see very shortly.
That's right. And another thing about cog skip is that, like, we're leaving out the back, which is where the recall shrine is, but it's actually dormant. You can't access it until visiting the Temple of Time twice, so that's why we don't interact with it at all.
And here's another blink and you'll miss it ubiquitous glitch in Tears of the Kingdom called sword duplication. There's a lot of shenanigans you can do with the menuing system in this game. And a lot of that involves trying to drop an item in a place where you can't actually take it out. And we can abuse that to duplicate wings. So we went from 3 just to like 25 or whatever it was in just a matter of a couple seconds. And those wings are going to come in handy very soon, right after this cutscene here.
Ooh, the run does start off quite difficult and also quite cool. This next trick is probably my favorite in the whole run. It's also glitchless. Like, this is just a very creative use of Link's momentum and the way the game works. But it's called Wing Flip, and you'll see why in just a second. But it's quite tough, so hopefully I hit it. Okay, we're not out of the woods yet.
But now comes the actual hard part, which is steering the dang thing.
This is not
so what
optimal.
We're doing here, we're setting up a kind of a whole sequence of events that's also not a glitch, but we're setting up a technique called a save load warp or a void out warp. Where basically for the next couple minutes we're going to be playing a little game of the floor is lava, because in this game it tracks Link's respawn coordinates based on where he last touched what's referred to as stable ground. And these wings that we're on do not count as stable ground. So if we stay on these wings, then after we go down and activate the door at the Temple of Time, which will allow us to get inside the shrines, we can void out by jumping over the edge or save and reload. And it'll put us all the way back up top, right above the Room of Awakening, which will make our movement to the first shrine, which is Ascend, like 20 or 30 seconds rather than 3 or 4 minutes that it would take to climb all the way up. And while we're mashing through text here, we probably got time for a quick donation or two if we've got anything.
Yes, we do have some donations coming in. We have a $5.67 donation from MZ that says, "Let's go Peef." I believe that is a fun/useless fact.
That is, yeah.
And we also have a $5 donation from Lit Books that says, "Good luck, P5. Give us a random fact about Hyrule Castle, please."
Oh, a specific request. All right. So for the first one, an interesting fact here is part of the game is Link loses his arm and he gets Raru's arm attached. That arm is actually not part of his base model, but is part of whatever armor he's got equipped, including kind of the default state. Or his default state doesn't have basically that arm. And you can tell this by going into the prologue and using a glitch to get the armor set from the prologue, and you'll find out that Link's hand is actually still healed. But then whenever you equip one of the actual in-game armor, his arm will be Raru's arm again. So some very clean movement there from P5. Also grabbing the sword and the shield. Not a Pokemon reference, but we're gonna be needing those for some very cool glitches that are about to perform later on in the run. And let's see, a fun fact about Hyrule Castle. We actually didn't have on our list, but I'll think of something.
Wait, I've maybe got one that kind of
Okay.
counts. That being the Hinox in Hyrule Castle counts as one of the Hinoxes that you have to kill to get the medal. And so you can't actually get all of the monster medals without completing all of the dungeons. So in Breath of the Wild, there's a category. Hold up. Let me just not die. Yeah, there's a category extension called All Kilton Medals, where you kill all of the mini bosses to get all of the medals from Kilton that you're rewarded with for killing all of the Taluses, Moldugas, and Hinoxes. But you couldn't do that in this game without then also playing the whole game, because there's this one Hinox that only appears in Hyrule Castle.
That's a pretty good fact. Oh, and I saw some questions in chat. We are playing the game in Russian. This is the fastest text language for this specific category. It saves just over a second over playing English, which is not a lot, but when you're grinding at the top level like Player 5 often does, every second counts.
Oh, we also kind of skipped over it, but I did appear up at the top island like we mentioned, but then to get to Ascend, you have to fly a wing down. Then, because you don't have the paraglider, and you basically don't have anything, you just have a sword. There's no fall damage cancel glitch that we can do. Instead, you have to grab onto the side of the shrine, because grabbing a wall will cancel all fall damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Yeah, Claudia,
Nicely done. Yeah, we definitely needed him to focus for that part because the item counter is very important. So, Player 5, you just saw all that frantic menuing is setting up a glitch called Zuggle. Now, what Zuggle does, if you haven't heard of it before, it's a glitch that allows you to stack multiple copies of different weapons into Link's hand at once. So this has kind of two main effects. Number one, all those weapons retain their hitboxes, so every time you swing your sword, you're doing times 10 damage. And number two, it also puts Link in a state where his actor, or basically his model, is overloaded. And in this overload state, there's some really funky things you can do, including set up that flying glitch that we just saw, which is known as Arrow Smuggle. And we'll get into more of that a bit later, but this overload glitch is kind of the linchpin for what makes this whole run work, and pretty much every run in Tears of the Kingdom nowadays abuses that overload state with Zuggle. And we got another long unskippable cutscene here, yay! So got some time for some more donation reads.
We do have a $5 donation from Anonymous, which I believe puts us roughly $105, little over, to get the glitch showcase. So don't forget to get those donations in if you want to see the glitch showcase.
That is very achievable. And that's another fun fact. Let's see. The next one on our list is that in this game, if you hit something and you see blue sparks, that means you didn't use up any of your weapon's durability. And so there are certain situations where, like, if you hit a Zonai device, right, you don't actually damage your weapon. And what's interesting is that in Breath of the Wild, there were instances where, you would hit something and it would damage your weapon. Like if you smack a boulder with your sword, obviously you would expect that to damage your weapon, but in Tears of the Kingdom that doesn't happen. It's a lot more forgiving, and I think that makes sense, right? They wanted to preserve your durability better, because you were using it a lot more.
Complaint that a lot of people had with the first game. So that little trick shot you just saw right there is what we call early battery or battery trick shot. So what Player 5 actually did was throw that capsule to hit a fan down below, which triggers the construct dialogue to give you the battery. This is the quickest way to get it, because out of the other two spots where you can get it, they're both end up losing time. You either have to go out of your way or you have to watch a much longer cutscene. So we get to do that cool little trick, saves about 18 seconds. And here we're kind of seeing the full power of arrow flight. Basically, you're doing a jump slash that gets canceled on the first frame, so you can kind of chain those together infinitely and preserve whatever momentum you had to go at pretty fast speeds. And just like that, we're already at the second shrine. Right on cue, some more cutscenes coming up here. More time for donations if you got anything.
I don't see anything in my donation reader right now.
Got a lot of fun facts, and I like info dumping about Zelda, so let's get those donations coming in if we want that glitch showcase as well.
Looks like we have something coming in.
Hold on to your butts.
We have a $25.93 donation from Crazy AZ that says, "Hello P5 and Cloud. Good luck on the run."
Thank you so much, and I think that earns for that. Maybe we gotta do a double. Fun fact here. Let's see what we've got. So speaking of the battery that we just talked about, this is a fun little tidbit that actually just got resolved the other day. So in the latest update 1.4 to Tears of the Kingdom, which released right before Switch 2, Nintendo actually introduced a pretty substantial soft lock where we mentioned earlier that there's 3 constructs that'll give you the energy cell, and one of them, it just didn't give you the energy cell. Like, you play through the dialogue and everything, but you just would not get the battery. And that was something that was discovered basically the day after the patch came out. And so the latest update that came out last night actually ended up fixing that, which was very nice. And so we're just going to see some cool movement here. P5's hovering along the ceiling to skip over another cutscene trigger, where it's going to show us that Captain Construct. This one saves about 8 or 10 seconds or so. But more importantly, it looks really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we skip all of the cutscenes we can, since they've given us quite a few.
Let's see, we've got a quick one here. Oh, here's a cool one. But first here, we'll let P5 focus on this setup. We're gonna do a bit of a normalized setup to get a specific launch off a specific patch of slope with an air flight that'll send P5 straight to the Ultra Hand Shrine. This is one of the tougher flights in the route, as you gotta gain a lot of height very quickly as you're flying over these spots that have a lot of lag spikes, which can drop the flight. But while he's focusing on that, we can read off another fun fact here. So, the title screen of Tears of the Kingdom, where you start a new game or continue your save file when you first load in, that render is actually a real room that exists in the game's files, and you can reach it using either glitches in-game or a corrupted save file. And you can just kind of run around that little room. There's not much to do. It's very neat. And interestingly enough, if you make a save in that room, it'll display the location as Gerudo Canyon Skyview Tower in Spanish, which I've been told is actually the default map location in the game's code.
That is a fun fact.
Apparently that's like the center of the earth, Gerudo Canyon Skyview Tower.
We do have donations flying in now, so.
Oh yeah, let's take them.
We have a $5 donation from Raggets that says, I love trivia. We have a $5.01 donation from Pikmin Frank that says $5 for player 5. We have a $10.08 donation from Pa Jo Po 5893 that says, I take your fun fact and raise you a random useless fact. A group of narwhals is called a blessing, less than 3. And then we have a $5 donation from the Bim by Baggins that says, bring on the Zelda info dumping. I believe that is 4 facts.
Yep, that's my count too. All right, let's rattle these off. So, on version 1.0, there is another bug in the game where if you complete Great Sky Island and you drop straight into the depths after leaving the sky for the first time, so like you never touch the surface and unlock the surface map, the game prevents you from switching map layers. So you're basically kind of stuck in the depths unless you either reload your save or find one of those ascent pillars, or if you can make it all the way up to the ceiling somehow, it'll proc the map layer to open. It's just something that used to be encountered during one of the old speedrun routes for all dungeons, where we'd head and go get auto build right off Great Sky Island. Gotta make sure you touch the ground first before you jump down, or you're gonna be stuck down there.
Very fun. Getting stuck in the depths, down in the dungeon.
And speaking of version differences, so for the longest time, version 1.0 was only used for any percent and 100%, just due to some movement glitches on version 1.1 that made it faster. So other categories like all dungeons, all main quests were faster on that version. But as of just a few months ago, the whole entire main board has been updated so that 1.0 is the fastest category or fastest version for all those categories, which is great because it's a lot more accessible to your average player than 1.1, which currently requires you to have either saved it from week 1 of launch or have a modded switch, which can be a bit of a tough draw for some people. And so for our third fact, I'm actually going to ask P5 this and see if he knows.
Uh-oh.
There is actually still one category where the world record is on version 1.1.1. Do you know what it is?
I'm trying to think. One category. 1.1. Is it like all Koga battles or something?
That's it. You got it.
Hey,
good guess.
I knew it was something to do with auto build. Because that was the big reason.
That's mainly because, yeah, you head straight for auto build for the first Koga battle and you've got it. So getting carts would be too far out of the way, which is the other main use them. Very good. That's the game knowledge. I think we've got one more fun fact. Let's see. So maybe we can talk a little bit about the Switch 2. So the Switch 2 just dropped with some updates to both of our Switch Zelda games. And one thing that's kind of hampered speedruns on Switch 2 is basically anything that has a cycle or is on a cycle. The cycle now runs a little bit faster. So it's kind of thrown some people off. People have been getting into glitchless runs on Switch 2 of Tears of the Kingdom, and some of the cycles, like the dragon cycles at the end, have really messed things up and kind of slowed down time. And I don't know if that's due to like increased frame rate or whatever it may be, but if you're playing on the upgraded edition, anything on a cycle will run a little bit faster.
All right, we are finally back to the Recall Shrine. And it's kind of fortunate that the game allows you to warp here, because we skip activating the terminal. That's what, cog skip does. But it turns out you can still come back here. Rudder just allows it with magic. Because normally it's like, in order to warp somewhere, you'd have to activate like a shrine, right? You gotta touch the front of it. But yeah, with the Room of Awakening, you just kind of get the ability to warp there. All right, it's gambling time.
Oh man. So, one thing that's great about Tears of the Kingdom speedruns is there's not as much RNG compared to some other games. However, this is kind of the one big RNG check of the run, is we're looking for either a topaz or a ruby. Ideally a topaz is a bit faster, but either gem will do. And we're going to use these as our main weapon for combating the Demon King's army. The average scan is about 1 in 4 tries, so it looks like we're getting a bit worse than average luck here. There we go. And this saves about 30 seconds or so over getting the guaranteed ruby, which is in a cave just outside.
I do just want to pop in here real quick and thank you all for reaching the glitch showcase goal.
All right.
Already,
Thank
dang.
you to Calypsoid for the $50.30 donation that I believe got us there.
Thank you so much.
Very nice. And that sounds like we're also due for another fun fact then, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
All right, here's a good one, and I think some of you guys may have heard this before. So the enemies in Tears of the Kingdom, they each have their own unique name in the code, and some of them are kind of funny. Might not be what you expect. So Flux Constructs are called Block Masters. Yiga Foot Soldiers are called Junior Assassins. And Arakuda are called Toby. This is a reference to Toby, which is the Japanese word for fly. So every time we see an Arakuda, we say hello to our good friend Toby.
We have plenty more donations in as well, if this is a good time to read some more.
Yeah, sure.
We have a $5 donation from Trilock01 that says Shaka Kala. A $5 donation from Karen that says, a question for both of you. Who's your favorite NPC in TOTK?
Okay. I didn't even have to think about mine. It's Paya for sure.
I don't know. I just speedrun this.
Does Link count as an NPC?
I think that's quite the opposite.
Wait, you're right.
He's like the only one who doesn't count. Probably Raru. I mean, he's the goat, right?
Okay. All right. speaking of animals, we're about to see the newest development to the speedrun, which is deer clip. We mentioned how overload lets you clip through things, and this can actually kind of be our second fun fact. So, blink and you miss it. There goes the deer clip. When you're in the overload state, interacting with a mountable object will ignore the collision and clip you right through, just like you saw there. And some of the mountable objects in this game include steering sticks, horses, deer, as we just saw, bears, even Lionels when you jump on their back. The telescope at Lookout Landing counts as a mountable object. And my personal favorite, the Master Sword sticking out of the Light Dragon's forehead also counts as a mountable object. So if you grab that while you're overloaded, Link will clip right through and kind of fall to the ground during the cutscene, so you'll just get an invisible Link during the entire Master Sword pull. This part's definitely quite tricky. P5 is doing some careful out-of-bounds navigation in the dark, relying on a coordinate check. And now we're going to use a shield unequipped ragdoll clip to get back in bounds and trigger the endgame. And wow, that took a lot of damage.
Wait, hold up. You... okay, let me just... So what I want is the autosave. Is it like down here?
A little to the right. Yeah, right there
Like
should
this?
be good. You'll have to climb up.
Oh, no,
Uh-oh.
we're going. So let's
All
just
right.
not die.
I didn't realize I could trigger from right there. Interesting. So now you'll see why we spend all that time duplicating rubies, and it's for this very moment. Rubies are mini fire nukes that we can take down the army with, just about 20-25 of them. And you'll notice player 5 is also spamming recall in between each throw. This is an animation cancel that lets you get out the next throw quite a bit faster, and it also kind of stops the enemies from moving while you're doing that animation, allowing for better crowd control. And another part of the important routing in army here is grabbing these weapon pickups in between each phase, which is going to be important for the next boss that we fight, and also it ensures a instant transition into the next phase of army rather than having to run around and wait for an RNG load. And I didn't want to jinx it, but that was the scariest phase of army right there, the Lizalfos. And wow, really unlucky.
What?
Or despawn.
That must have been so many like tails dropping. That's crazy. Yeah, that means I need this. And then I'll have to dupe it.
No worries. The run can continue. Really playing with fire there. Ha ha ha.
Haha. Oh wait, here. No, I guess he doesn't get hit by it. With the
Yeah,
topaz.
I think I think it's got like a wider area of effect.
Mhm.
Okay, so now, if you come to the end of the game and you haven't beat any of the dungeons, for each of the dungeons you haven't beat, you have to face their boss in a boss rush here, similar to in Breath of the Wild. But unlike Breath of the Wild, we can actually skip the boss rush completely, because the flag for Ganondorf to appear in the final arena is already active after defeating Army. So we can clip out of bounds here and get scammed and try again. And then we can clip back in bounds later and just fly all the way to the boss trigger for Ganondorf.
I just want that used to my weapon.
So P5 is going to look for a specific spot, assuming the camera behaves.
Yeah, when you're out of bounds, the camera gets stuck sometimes.
Believe it or not, the game actually doesn't know what to do with you when you're not inbound. So this clip right here is what we call a jump/cancel clip. It's technically frame perfect, but the frame is adjustable and it's pretty easy to get the right cue. And this is what we call tunnel flight here. Very difficult strat. As you can see, Colgera is flying around in the background, inducing a lot of lag. And yep, that's
Right
what
on
we
cue.
want to. That's what we want to avoid happening, but it should be alright. I think you can afford one hit if you
Yeah,
play
I
it
just need
safe.
to be careful here.
So now we are going to see the benefit of 10 swords stacked to your hand. And when you fuse an item to a Zuggle stack, it gets applied to every single weapon in that stack. So we're going to be doing some massive damage here on Ganondorf.
Oh man, I was doing glitchless earlier, and this is so nice.
Imagine having to actually play the game.
I know, right?
And you'll notice here too, a side effect of skipping the boss gauntlet is that we're technically still in the Colgera fight at the same time as we're in the Ganondorf fight. So the music for the boss theme will swap back and forth between the two.
We have plenty of donations lined up. The chat can't get enough of these fun facts.
All right, let's hear him.
We have a $5.01 donation from Pikmin Frank that says, Link is also my favorite playable character in Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm glad.
We have a $5.01 donation from Lit Books that says, okay, but we need a Zelda fact from the queen herself, Cloud. We have a $5.28 from Joey that says, Woomy fun fact. And then finally, we have a $5.60 donation from Hogo Hogo that says, good luck, 5th player.
All right,
Thank
that's
you.
4, right?
That would
Do
be
it. Do I remember how to count?
Don't
We'll start with
ask
the
me.
Zelda fact, I guess. And since we're coming into the Demon Dragon fight and we're on the Light Dragon, we can do a Light Dragon fact. How about that?
Whoa, spoilers?
So, spoilers for a 2-year-old game. If you're watching a speedrun of a 2-year-old game and you don't know how it ends, I can't help. This is not a spoiler-free zone. Anyways, so did you know in Tears of the Kingdom, you can actually summon the Light Dragon to your location a certain number of times. And the way you do this is by, after you save the Deku Tree and activate the quest Recovering the Hero Sword, where it marks Light Dragon's location on your map, every time after that you discover a dragon's tear memory, after you end the memory, you can look up and the Light Dragon will be right above you.
Oh, that's actually
This
quite
is
useful.
Yeah, this is a technique that was used in glitchless Master Sword speedruns, I believe, for a while. And alright, so this part right here, Demon Dragon, is actually one of the most... So we'll let P5 focus while I rattle off some more facts in the background. But I guess we can go for another dragon fact. So this will kind of be a multiple in one. So all 4 dragons in the overworld are set cycle and pathing that starts when Link wakes up on GSI. Farage has the shortest cycle and Light Dragon has the longest. And in terms of the Light Dragon, she actually has 3 different cycles that the game tracks, which is before you've completed GSI, she flies in a loop behind the Temple of Time. After you complete GSI, she flies on an overworld track at a very high elevation. It's like 2,400 units, I believe. And after you rescue the Deku Tree, she moves to her low overworld track, which is the exact same, but it moves down to like, I want to say 1,600 elevation. So there's another little dragon facts for you. Alright, so those have been some cool facts. Let's go for a gross one.
Uh-oh.
So, you know, they reintroduced like-likes to this game, which I was shocked to see after how many years with the Zelda game not having like-likes. But did you know that like-likes actually have feet? They have feet, and they're just about as gross as you can imagine, but generally you can only see them from out of bounds, as they're always kind of clinging to a surface. But if you remember the sludge-like fight during Sidon's quest, you can kind of see the sludge-like's feet. I'm so sorry to have cursed you with this information.
Yeah, I think I could have lived my life without knowing that.
Alright, we'll go for another cool one then. So did you know, on the way to the Demon King's army, there is a certain spot in Gloom's Approach where you can use Ascend and it'll put you out of bounds. This is not very common because the game actually has trackers for every single surface to say which is ascendable and which is not. But this one spot, it pushes you through the collision of this Gloom route somehow and just forces you out of bounds. And this works on... Actually, I don't know if this was patched in the latest version. Maybe I'll go try it right now. But,
Almost.
you can just ascend and go right out of bounds. Oh, yeah, the cycle was a bit late there, huh?
I tried to get the backup, and I landed on the head, and I just couldn't. I was a little bit too low.
I think we are due for one more quick fun fact here before we end off.
We'll go to the back fold.
Is that a weird angle?
Oh, we didn't get it. Here's the fun fact.
Yeah,
or not
yeah,
so
yeah.
fun fact. If you are standing on the dragon's head when you do the final hit on the stone, on version 1.0 only, there's an 8-second long black screen right there. So if I were to jump off of the dragon's head and hit the secret stone at the same time, it would avoid that 8-second wait. So I don't know, there's some loading problem on 1.0 that they optimized later. I don't really understand it, but it's a thing you have to avoid.
Yeah. Can cause you quite the headache. A nice little 8-second time loss to eat, literally right at the end of the run. Speaking of the end of the run, I'm so glad we already hit that glitch incentive because we've got about 30 seconds left. The run ends when we hold hands with Zelda. So we just got this final dive here for any last donations to come in.
I don't
Before
see
we head
any
off to our
on the
showcase.
reader.
Sounds good. That we can just enjoy the wonderful soundtrack here.
That was actually a pretty clean run.
It was
I don't
very,
think I
very
really
nice.
made any mistakes. Other than, I guess,
I'm
the dragon.
so glad that you did not die in army. I didn't want to jinx anything, but we were both hoping to try to get that autosave trigger because if and there's time. If you die at any point during army, it sends you back to your last grounded position, which for player 5 would have been all the way back up on Great Sky Island. So we would have had to set up overload again and then redo that whole entire dive, gear clip and all.
That's right. It's a really big time loss. But we didn't die.
And GG, congrats on a clean showing.
All right. I think because we unlocked the glitch showcase, I'm just gonna skip through these cutscenes and get right into it. I've prepared a save file here that, well, here's a fun fact for free. I don't actually have any saves on this Switch that have the paraglider, or at least I didn't until last night, because I specialize in any percent, and we don't grab the paraglider, so all of my practice saves are from saves where we don't have it. But the first glitch I'm gonna show off is, I think, one of the newer glitches from what I've seen people talking about, but it is very goofy.
I am so excited for this. You guys have no idea what's coming.
Let's see.
So anytime someone's doing a glitch showcase and you see them warp to a Kala Citadel, you know things are about to get freaky because for some reason this part of the game has a lot of culling zones and whatnot that are very useful for setting up glitches.
All right, don't mind me.
So this one
Just
is called Moblin Object Enlargement, I believe.
yeah. We apparently have named that Moblin Mo. M-O-E. Okay, so let's see. I think we'll do this.
And as much of an expert as I purport to be, I don't really know what's going on here, so let's just all enjoy the fun together. I will say though that like probably a good 80-90% of TOTK glitches, especially on 1.0, is just it just looks like random weapon swaps, drops, unequips, pauses, unpauses. It can be all very hard to keep straight.
2, 3. Oh, I didn't get it. Okay. This part takes me a few tries. This is the 1.0 version of setting it up. One, 2, 3. Oh, come on.
Is this like a frame perfect pickup out of the menu or something?
I have to fuse to the shield like as soon as I exit the menu. Okay, 1,
I see.
2. There we go. We got the fuse. Okay, so now if I drop this and I drop a one-handed weapon, the Mo, please. Boom! We got the big Goron sword. How about that?
More like comically large Goron sword.
Oh my goodness. Dude, this is like actually what the big Goron would use.
Canonically accurate Bigoron sword.
So yeah, essentially we're like using the fact that Moblins will have larger, you can see like right there, his shield is larger than the shield that Link holds because he's just a larger dude. And so what we've done is, I believe, taken like one of our weapons and like fuse and tangled it to a shield so that when the Moblin picks up the shield, we are now holding that sword that we've like fused to the shield. And so it exists both on the shield and like in our hands. And so because the Moblin has picked it up, now it gets enlarged and the sword we're holding also gets enlarged at the same time. So it's pretty cool. This is the basic form of it. So if you watch, I will climb up here and I'll be out of range of the Moblin. So it's going to cause my giant sword to disappear at some point. Or not. Oh, there it is. Now it's gone, right? And that's because the Moblin unloaded, but once he's back, then he comes back. Alright, I'll just grab this again. And now, that one is Moblin Object Enlargement. I guess the next one I'll show right here. This one's pretty classic. If you're familiar with Tears of the Kingdom glitches, then you've probably seen this one.
The ubiquitous Pocket Rocket, as it is affectionately known.
Yep.
So the way this works is we use it by setting up a glitch called Fuse Entanglement, which, if you interrupt the action of fusing the rocket to your shield by opening the rune menu and then swapping shields, what that does is it allows the rocket to exist as a fuse object and as a tangible object in the world simultaneously. So if you use that physical rocket to your weapon so it doesn't unload, you can carry it with you. You can chain these infinite rocket jumps with cancels, and it allows you to just fly around the map, only limited by the durability of your shield and the amount of battery that you have. And this glitch has a ton of variants, some that let you do it infinitely with no durability loss and no battery, etc. Very cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch any longer Tears of the Kingdom speedrun than any percent, you're almost guaranteed to see Pocket Rocket at some point or another.
All right. The next one I'll show is over here. Oh, just kind of curious, how much time do we have in this segment to get a gauge on how many glitches I can show?
I am currently asking.
All right, well, I'll carry on. So over here, there is a Korok. This is probably one of the first of the backpack Koroks that you'll encounter because it's on GSI. But there's a pretty cool way of solving these that speedrunners have found. If I go like this, take this conveniently placed demolish room, and then because I have gyro on, I'm going to put my controller on the table. This is called an auto build cancel. And what we're doing is like pulling out the auto build ghost and then canceling it as we pull out a weapon, and it creates the auto build ghost in the overworld. So I'm able to essentially carry this this Korok with me wherever I want to go, and so it's super useful for these buddy Koroks because you can kind of just like bring them wherever you want. So 100% speedruns use it a lot.
You'll also see this in categories like all shrines, where there's all those crystals that you have to transport from one location to another. Very handy for that as well.
All right. And then, yeah, auto build cancel. I won't be showing the other. Well, I guess I could try it. Let's see. I'm on version 1.0, which is interesting because I'm actually gonna turn off gyro. And I can apparently speak Russian. Let's see, so I think it's this.
Oh goodness. This the 1.0 build is so cursed.
Yeah, I don't know if this is correct. Also, that spawned way too high up.
This doesn't work quite as well on 1.0 as it does on 1.1, like we briefly touched on earlier, but the main principle behind this is because the blueprint is coded to say stay a specific direction away from Link at all times. If you create a build that Link can stand on and then have another object to push it, you can push that away from Link, but Link is on it, so it's falling with it, and you can just kind of slide infinitely at high speeds.
Oh, come on, that was almost it. Yeah, so this
But
is
yeah.
the glitch where it's not really gonna work as well on 1.0.
And I completely forgot that there was one glorious week of any percent history where you go to the depths to get auto build, clip out of bounds, then use this glitch to slide to the army platform.
Okay. This seems nice. I just need to get Link on it. Oh my goodness, he's not cooperating. Come on.
Close enough.
Here you go. This is a 1.0 auto build cancel slide. How about
Not
that?
quite the speed that we're looking for, but there it is. All right, looks like we're almost running out of time here for our glitch showcase. Is there maybe one more thing you want to show off real quick?
Real quick. Here, if we want a quick one, then how about something slightly goofy? What is it?
Say no more.
Okay, that's because I used the save editor on this file. Okay, so we take this, right? A two-handed weapon. Let me just pick it up, just to get rid of the text box, and then I will drop it again. And now I believe, let me just look. Yeah, so now I unequip a weapon, and I think this works on all versions, but I hold out a shield, and then press Y. Link will do this, like, I don't have a weapon animation, and then I will pick up the two-handed weapon in the middle of it, and now Link has a shield while using a two-handed weapon. So,
Real quick, we do want to shout out GDQ for the raid. Thank you so much.
Welcome in, everyone. You're here at the tail end of a very fun Tears of the Kingdom any % speedrun / glitch showcase by the one and only Player 5.
oh, that's
But
right.
I think that's about all we have time for then.
Yeah, that'll be it. Thank you all for joining me on this fun adventure in Hyrule. Yeah, enjoy the rest of Zeldathon. You can catch me at twitch.tv/player5 if you'd like, and Cloud over at twitch.tv/cloud with 2Ds at the end. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the event. Keep raising money for a good cause, and yeah, catch you guys later.
Bye.